Hello, I wanted to introduce a new series that I'm going to start on the Blue Sky Shop channel here on YouTube that is called Chiron Rising, an empowerment series. So for some time, since the time I started astrology, and I didn't do a lot of formal training, I really went with what was coming up in me as to my knowledge and my avenue of interpretation for astrology charts. And one particular energy within a chart that I feel I just am drawn to it. It's much like when I started energy work and I was drawn to horses. I don't question these things, but I notice because it doesn't really make any sense to my brain as to why I'm drawn to these things. In the case of horses, I did not own a horse. I still don't own a horse. I haven't ridden since 1982. And yet I have a connection with them that I just can't describe, but I can hear them and I can act as a channel for them to do their own energy healing. They know exactly what they need. And they've taught me so much and used me as a translation channel for their riders and for their owners. So Chiron is tied into this horse energy. That's why I'm bringing it up. For those that don't know, Chiron is really an enigma in terms of astrology. Some call it a minor planet, some call it an asteroid. There really is like no common terminology to talk about Chiron, but it is an energy in our skies. And it is seen in the astrological chart. This is the glyph for what it looks like. And the reason I was so drawn to this when I started doing astrology is it looked like a key to me. And that's how I have come to know it, is I feel this is the most powerful energy to understand in your chart, because it is everything that you are capable of. It is your full power. It is the key to your empowerment. And yet it's looked on in traditional astrology as the wounded healer. And Chiron is from mythology. There's a lot online about it, but very briefly, it was the Chiron energy is known as a centaur. So the body of a human, but or the torso of a human, but the body, the legs, and the hind end of a horse. And so that's why I'm tying in the horse description to you as well. And so to me, it represents an energy that is both the best part of being human. You consider the trunk of the human body, that is all of our senses, all of our sensory system, plus our brain. So all of our organs, the brain, all the chakras are all mixed in there. It's all contained. And then the power of the wild, as I call it, which is horse energy I know to be freedom. Full out freedom to power forward, to move forward. And of course, they have a flight response when they experience an energy that they don't like, they bolt. And I just think that there is a very powerful message in there about the combination of these two ideas. Everything that is amazing about the human body, with the sensory system, with our organs, with the chakras, with our brain, all of that capability, with the power and the freedom and the ability to quickly get a lay of the land energetically of a situation or a person or a place that you find yourself, and if need be, to bolt. And that doesn't always mean leaving physically. It means disengaging that whole of the sensory system, and maybe we pull back, we stand back. It doesn't always have to mean that we run off physically. So the reason that I want to start this series now is that Chiron again, as I said, has always been known as the wounded healer. That's how I was introduced to Chiron. But when I tap in with the energy of Chiron in somebody's chart, it's the wounded healer, but it's also our greatest gift. And so what Chiron has been communicating to me through charts is the fact that now Chiron has moved into the sign of Aries. It has just re-entered Aries after a period of retrograde, moving backwards. And Aries, as we know, is the start of the zodiac. So this generally happens. Again, this is the enigma of Chiron. It is not precise by design, just like our lives are not precise. Generally, it takes about 50 to 51 years for Chiron to make its way all the way around the zodiac. The last time that Chiron was in Aries, I looked up, was between April 1st of 1968 and May 28th of 1976. This was a time of, the summer of love. Woodstock happened in this time. And there was this personal revolution. It was a time of the adults. And also a big portion of what's known as Generation X, which I am part of, was born in this time frame. And much of the research around Gen X is that there was really a focus on the adult. It wasn't really about the kids like it was in previous generations. And there was parental and individual self-actualization. It was about this liberation of the self. And now here we are again. Chiron is re-entering Aries. As of April 17th of 2018 was the first time it hit Aries. It was there for a bit, travels backwards, and now, just recently in February, it went back into Aries for real, to stay, so to speak. And it will be traveling through the sign of Aries, the leader within all of us, the one who is full of power and momentum. It will be there through June 19th of 2026. So we have a full 8 years of this. And then, of course, it will move on and move around the rest of the zodiac. For many of us listening to this, we may not see Chiron in Aries again in our lifetimes. Depends how healthy we keep ourselves, I suppose. But what I've gotten through Chiron is that Chiron is tired of being known as the wounded healer. It's a new day dawning. And remember the themes from 1968 to 1976. Liberation, celebration of the self. And that is Aries in itself. It is the I am presence. It is about the individual. And so the reason I want to start these readings, which I'm not sure how often I'll do them, if I'll do one a week, I'm not sure. But Chiron wants to reframe the word healing and woundedness to empowerment and capability. Really wants you to feel the energy of knowing that you are capable. And anything that you point to as a wound and that you want to quickly go into a victim mentality on, Chiron is your key for understanding the true potential that you were born with. And in people's charts, this is very specific. There is a Sabian symbol for you in your chart, and there is a placement within the chart as to where this exists. My Chiron is in Aries. And my Chiron is in the 6th house, which is about service to you. That's why I'm doing this. I woke up and knew this was the day to do it. And so the other thing that I will say about my Chiron is my symbol, and you would have your own symbol too. My symbol in Aries is a square with one side brightly illumined. I'm here to get you out of your box. That is why I built the Blue Sky Shop. That is why I built Call of the Wild energy therapy because the horses represent freedom. They represent no bounds. The true nature of them is forward momentum and power, really. And so I also pulled a card from the Secrets of the Mystic Grove deck, which I'm just loving, about the meaning of this series, just to give you context. And this card of listen came up. And you see that the woman, is tapped into the wildlife. And it's a bird, which represents spirit, and it represents the birds are about leadership energy because they fly above all of the riffraff on the earth. And then of course, they need to dip down and get their nourishment from the earth and from the waters here. But largely they fly above the fray. And this says, listen, paying attention, dialogue, and communicating. And this is about not hiding from your wounds and, to keep opening the wound up and you jab something into it by the fact of giving into the wound. This is about communicating with the spirit and with the nature, with this wild that is within. Remember the centaur of Chiron. It is the best of who you are as a human, the woman here, with the best of wild. But it's a new wild. This is not even horse wild. Now we've switched to the flight of birds and the tie into spirituality. This is the upgrade from the time of 1968 to 76. It was very much about self-actualization and coming to know self and coming to live what one was passionate about, living our passions, but again, focus on the adult here. Through earthly pleasures. It was a time when it very much was a horse energy. It was about the earth. It was about moving ahead in what we felt empowered us as individuals in the earth. So sex, and this was also the MTV generation, the me. There was a lot of the beginnings of MTV hadn't quite hit yet when Chiron was there, but it was in those formations as it got into 1976, beginning to move in that direction. But it was about these earth pleasures. You just think back to that time and disco and the whole scene and, the rise of music and the individuality in that music. And now I really feel this card is pointing us towards it is self of human with spirit, which is always the bird kingdom. All that sort of aviary energy is the voice of spirit really filling us up to find our own unique voice and our unique I am, bringing that forward. So it's a higher plane, not better. It's more expanded, I would say. It's not as much about the earthly pleasures as this sense of openness to all that is. And again, my role as a messenger is to be the one side of a square brightly illumined. I'm giving you a way out of the bounding box, okay? So that's what these readings will be about. So I'll be posting up later on today. I'll post the first one and you can see what you think. I don't even know yet on the cards, but it'll be something that it's not about healing. I don't want to use that word because that Chiron is very adamant that it's not that you're broken. This is about opening, and it is about rising. That's why I'm calling it Chiron Rising. Rising to the challenge of whatever leadership is ready to come out in you, because that's what the Aries energy is about, is our inner leadership. And what role does spirit play in that for you? That's what Chiron is poking at over this next 8 years. All right. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the new series. Bye-bye for now.